everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this session on how we'll build Azure AI agents with Microsoft Fabric. So just to introduce myself, for those who don't know me, my name is Ziggy Zulueta. For those of LinkedIn, you may add me up in this LinkedIn profile above. I'm a LinkedIn Learning instructor. So LinkedIn Learning is a subsidiary of Microsoft where we provide a lot of video content. And this video content can range from learning about Microsoft Azure, even Google or AWS. We cover concepts on AI, cybersecurity, data, or even leadership, public speaking, and even how to learn how to play the piano. So there's pretty much a lot of content there. But here at LinkedIn Learning, I provide a lot of Microsoft Azure AI videos. So I have around 9 videos already and counting. And that's what I pretty much do. I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional. So for those who don't know, it's a technical award given to experts all over the world who promote a lot of Microsoft technologies. And this is given to me in the field of AI. And I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. So that's what I pretty much do for a living. I train a lot of individuals and organizations who want to know more about Microsoft Azure, Azure AI, Microsoft Fabric, and the Power Platform. And I do have a couple of certifications, among them the Azure Solutions Architect, Power Platform Solutions Architect, and I do have all the Microsoft Fabric certifications along with Power Platform. And 2 weeks ago, we had a session on connecting Microsoft Fabric with Azure AI. So that's what's going to be the session today as well. But this one focused on Azure AI and then connecting it with Fabric. So I did mention that I have a couple of around 9 LinkedIn courses, but this is the most popular one. And the reason for this is that unlike other LinkedIn courses wherein you get a completion badge after, with this LinkedIn course, after you complete the course, you have the opportunity to take an exam. And once you complete the exam, you get a Microsoft Professional AI certificate. So that's what makes this course unique. So it's one of a kind in the world, and it's my most popular course. So if you click on this QR code, you'll be able to access this course and all the other courses in LinkedIn Learning, plus an Azure AI Foundry Agents course, which I'll be discussing at the end. So I did mention 2 weeks ago we had a session, and it's the YouTube video is already posted. But in general, it was a session in which we connected Azure AI services with Microsoft Fabric. And last session, we had raw customer reviews. These reviews can be from social media, from your website, or from any other source that you have. And you wanted to get the insights from these reviews, whether it be you want to get the overall sentiment of the review, or you want to get the opinion mining of the review. In which case, when you say opinion mining, imagine you have, let's say, 10,000 reviews, and you want to get the actual review of a specific product. And not only that, so let's say you are selling a travel product, and there's a zipper in the bag, and you want to actually get the opinion on what the zipper is and what people find about the zipper. So with that, we use Azure AI services. But then again, getting that insight is nothing if you're not able to actually see it in a table and being able to analyze it and to make reports out of it to get insights. And that's what we did, in which we got the insights from Azure AI services and we saved it in a Microsoft Fabric table for us to be able to analyze it, visualize it, and who knows what you want to do with it in the future. Now, in today's session, we're going to do the opposite. We're in the last session, we had AI, Azure AI, and then put it in Microsoft Fabric. Now, what we're going to do is you have this data in Microsoft Fabric, and you want to have a conversational chat interface with it using Azure AI Foundry agents. So the session today will be creating a basic agent and then connecting it with Microsoft Fabric to be able to retrieve the product reviews that we had. And then from there, we can even add more capabilities to the agent. We want to, let's say, retrieve product information. So let's say people want to ask about, what are the basic features of a specific product. And then from there, since it is a travel agent, we'll even add other information, such as getting restaurant recommendations online. So imagine you have a use case wherein you have a travel company agent, and for the purpose of this demonstration, it will get information from your product sets, whether it be it's in a Word document. We'll get our product reviews in Microsoft Fabric. So this one will be coming from a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse table. And then from there, we'll get restaurant and hotel recommendations. In this scenario, we're going to be focusing on getting that information from TripAdvisor. So let's discuss a little bit more of the basics first. So number one, what is an agent? So there's actually a lot of definitions for that, what an agent is. Uh, so we're going to focusing on two ones. So there's a lengthy version and there's a short version. So the lengthy one is a semi-autonomous software that can be given a goal and will work to achieve that goal without you knowing in advance exactly how it's going to do that or what steps it's going to take. In other words, once you give the agent the task, you don't know how it's going to achieve it, but the end result is it's supposed to achieve the goal. So what I actually like is the second one. It's a system that uses a large language model to decide the control flow of an application. And what do I actually mean by this? So I actually discussed this to those who attended about Azure AI Foundry agents a couple of months ago in the same community. But in general, a non-agent system is, imagine you have an app that can provide, let's say, weather information, book hotels, or book flights. And in a non-agent system, you'd probably have it in a website wherein you're going to be choosing a set of tabs, or it can be in a command line interface, a set of a menu. So in this case, you're going to be given the option. Do you want to get the weather, book the hotel, or book the flights? You have a couple of options here. So it's typically a menu-based if and else conditions type of system. And then if you want to choose a hotel, then from there you will be given another set of options, whether is it going to be in the US, France, or Australia. Now with an agent type of system, if you look at it, when you talk to a person, when you talk to an actual customer service agent, the customer service agent, based on your conversations with that agent, will decide what flow it will take. So that agent will be trained. So they're going to be trained on the work process, and there's a specific set of there's still a tree or a logic flow that it will follow. But when you talk to the agent, the agent will not ask you, choose one, two, or three. It's gonna be a conversational type of interface with the agent when you're talking to that person, and the person will decide on what flow to take. And it's gonna be the same thing with an agent, but this time, instead of having a human person, you're gonna be having a large language model decide on what to do. In other words, when you're talking to the large language model, based on the type of conversation, the LLM will decide what flow to take. So let's say you are asking the LLM that you want to book a hotel in the US. The LLM will decide based on the conversation that it will be on the book hotel and the United States flow, where the conversation will actually happen. And so normally, an agent will need to accomplish three things. So one is it needs to reason over a provided business process. So this represents the agent's ability to think logically and make decisions, and enables the agent to interpret context, evaluate the different options, and then from there plan next steps. It can also be the agent needs to retrieve context to complete to complete the process. So for example, this would be referring to information that the agent is grounded in, such as business rules, frequently asked questions, or even structured data. And this is what ensures the agent's responses are accurate, relevant, and aligned with organizational goals. And then finally, the agent must be able to perform an action for the end user. So these are practical capabilities the agent can execute, like triggering a workflow, calling other APIs, or updating records. And this is where the agent delivers value by completing tasks on behalf of different users. So I'll actually just show to you a course that I have in LinkedIn that actually does this. But today we're going to be focusing on a small subset of that scenario. So we're going to be discussing about the AI agent, Azure AI Foundry agent service, which allows you to rapidly develop and automate this type of system. So I'm going to be demonstrating it to you through the portal, where you can create an agent very quickly. And then from there, it has a lot of extensive data connections, and it's been growing. The library of connections has been growing. So I'll show you what these are. And from there, we can select a huge number of models. So in today's session, we're going to be focusing on Azure OpenAI, but there's a whole bunch of other models that you can connect with, like Grok, Meta, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, since you are running on the Azure platform, then you have the enterprise grade security that comes using the platform. So what does this Azure AI Foundry agent architecture look like? So number one, you're going to be providing an input, whether it be from a user. For us, in this case, we're going to be chatting with the agent, or it can be from other agents because it can be a multi-agent system. Or in the case of system events, you can even have, the agent become triggered from a specific set of, events. And that's the beauty of the Azure AI Foundry agent service. They're actually long-running agents. When I say long-running, when you actually create them in the portal or through Python code, or through .NET, what will happen is the agent will forever be there. It's going to be running, whether it be getting messages from a user, from multiple users, from other agents, from system events, and it will forever be running till you actually delete them. And then from there, each agent will have its own large language model, which will power the reasoning and its language understanding. It will be given a set of instructions. I'm going to be demonstrating what these are, but in general, these instructions define the agent's goals, behavior, and constraints. And we're going to be giving it a set of tools, which I'm going to be discussing in the next slide. But these tools let the agent retrieve knowledge or take action. And there's a whole bunch of it right now, and it's been growing. The list has been growing. And from there, once you provided input, there will be a set of outputs. It can be agent messages or a structured output if you decide in the set of instructions that you want it to provide a set of structured output. And when it comes to tools, as I mentioned, there's a whole bunch of it right now. There's Bing, if you want to provide it, if you want the agent to focus on a specific URL to get the information or to search the internet for information. If you have files in SharePoint and you want to get the information from SharePoint files, if you have data indexed in Azure AI Search, you can do so. Or in the case of our demonstration today, we're going to be getting structured information from Microsoft Fabric. We're also going to be demonstrating how to get information from TripAdvisor. So we have an API of TripAdvisor, which we'll get information from. And there's a couple of Azure integrations as well. So if you have a custom application or custom app running in Azure Functions, you can run it. With Azure Logic Apps, you can connect the agent to multiple connectors. And Logic Apps provides you a whole bunch of connectors. So for those who may not know about Logic Apps, this is like the building blocks of Power Automate. So with Logic Apps, you can, let's say, create a ticket. So I've provided demonstrations with this, wherein the agent creates tickets in ServiceNow. And if all else fails, as long as you have the API, so this is an open API spec, as long as you have the open API specification of an external application, they can also do so. And for those who have been reading about MCP servers these days, so you can even connect it to MCP. And then from here, you can even create custom Python code. So if the Azure functions are stateless, if you want to have, these are stateful functions. If you want to have stateless functions, you can create it through Python or .NET. And then even have their display right icon, where if you want the agent to access, a browser for it to do a lot of things within that browser. And I even mentioned here other agents. It can connect to other agents as well. So it's a whole bunch of things that an agent can actually do. And later on, at the end of the session, I'm going to be sharing with you a LinkedIn course that I created that actually discusses all of these. So in today's session, we're going to be focusing on connecting it to Microsoft Fabric, and we're going to be giving it a couple of abilities as well to connect with Azure AI Search and with TripAdvisor. So 2 weeks ago, we discussed about Microsoft Fabric. So for those who did not attend it, basically it's Microsoft's enterprise-grade end-to-end analytics platform that unifies data movement, processing, transformation, and reporting. And it integrates multiple services into a seamless software as a service experience that eliminates the need for manual setup or infrastructure management. It's a lengthy description, but in general, if you want to have an analytics platform, you need to have that platform must be able to get data from multiple sources. That's number one. And number two, to be able to place it in a warehouse. And that information is, will contain structured and unstructured information. And then from there, once you have all of that information, you should be able to analyze it using a platform like Power BI. And that's what Microsoft Fabric does. So in Fabric, you have a data factory that allows you to connect to multiple sources, whether it be that it can come from AWS. So this is a cloud agnostic application. You can get data from Google Cloud, from AWS, from SAP, or whatever application that you have. So that's what Data Factory does. And then once you have that data, you can transform it with data engineering. So within the same app, within the same platform, within the same Fabric platform, if you want to add additional columns, let's say eliminate unnecessary columns, delete unnecessary rows that have a lot of empty columns, or if you want to do some transformation wherein and null columns will become zero or whatever, you will do it with data engineering. And then from there, you will store the data in a data warehouse. And this data warehouse can handle not only structured data, so the normal tables, rows, and columns, but it can even handle unstructured data. So we demonstrated 2 weeks ago it's now in the YouTube video that we're able to get unstructured customer reviews. And then from there, using notebooks. So we had a Python notebook that actually run Azure AI services to get opinion minings and sentiment analysis on that data. And they're now stored in a data warehouse. And then from there, you have a couple of options. If you want to run additional data science workloads, whether it be machine learning, you can do so in Fabric as well. If you want to have real-time intelligence, so let's say you want to have a real-time alert or to do other tasks, then you will do it with real-time intelligence. And for those who are familiar with Power BI, so once you have all your data in a table, then you'll have a Power BI report to show it on screen. So that's what Fabric does. But in our session today, we're going to be focusing on the Fabric Data Agent. So 2 weeks ago, we focused on the lakehouse. So we created the lakehouse. And then we created a notebook using Spark in order to run Azure AI Python code. And then from there, get the insights and place it in our lakehouse. In today's session, we had the lakehouse already in place. Now, what you want to do is to create a conversational AI experience that will answer questions from our Fabric lakehouse. So this lakehouse, I'll show it to you again what it will look like, but it contains all our product sentiments and our product reviews. And then from there, with this Fabric Data Agent, we want to be able to chat with it. And eventually, this is the agent that we will use to connect to Microsoft Azure AI Foundry agent. Okay, so it's going to be focusing on Azure AI Foundry and Microsoft Fabric using this Fabric Data Agent. So in this demonstration that I'm going to be showing, we're going to be creating an agent in the Azure AI Foundry agent service, and then we will connect it with our Fabric Data Agent, in which I'll demonstrate that to you. And then from there, we'll even add additional capabilities to the agent. So with this link, the agent can only get product reviews, but if you want to get product information, it will get it from Azure AI Search. And if you want to get product recommendations, it will get from TripAdvisor. And mind you, there's no if and else statements here. So since this is an agent, based on our conversation, the agent will decide which tool to use. If in the conversation we're asking about a product review, it will use Fabric. If it's on a specific product information, it will use Azure AI Search. If it's a specific restaurant review, it will use TripAdvisor. And I will demonstrate how to actually do that. So First and foremost, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to Azure AI Foundry. So in order to do that, you go to ai.azure.com, and what you normally do is to create an AI Foundry resource. You'll click on Next, and you'll put a project here. So let's say this will be sample project. You'll enter in your subscription, a resource group, your Foundry resource. So you're going to choose here a domain name that is available. So let's say this is Ziggy sample Foundry. And then from there, you will choose your region, and then you will click create. So this process takes around 5 to 10 minutes. So I will not do that anymore. So once you click on create, what's going to happen is you're going to be going through an interface wherein you're going to be going through the overview of your project. So I created one already. And to create your agent, what's going to happen is you're going to go to this agents page. And then from here, you'll create a new agent. And let's say this will be our sample agent for this demonstration. And we're going to put here a set of instructions. Let's say you are a travel agent. So let's keep it simple for now. And then from here, what will happen is you're going to be giving it a set of tools. When you click on knowledge, if you upload files, it will answer, any questions. It will going to refer to the files. You can add here Azure A Search to connect to your, to an index that you created. This, in which case, in our demonstration, it will contain our travel products. If you connect it with Fabric, it will connect with Fabric. Okay. And then from there, you have also SharePoint, grounding with Bing, TripAdvisor, and so on and so forth. Then with actions, it will do a whole bunch of other things. So we don't have time to explain each and every tool. And I'll just refer you to the LinkedIn course that I have that actually discusses all of these in depth with demonstrations in the portal and demonstrations through with actual code. Now, in our session today, what's going to happen is you want to create an agent. So this agent here, we have an agent that connects with AI search, with Fabric, and TripAdvisor. So how do you do that? So number one, before we actually set this up, we need to go to the management center. And then from here, we need to connect our resources. We need to connect our Azure A Search, our Fabric, and our TripAdvisor. So let's go one by one. And since we're focusing on Fabric today, let's start with Fabric. 2 weeks ago, we had this lake house that we created. And remember, in that call, I mean in that talk, we had our product reviews, and these were raw product reviews. And what happened was running a notebook, and let me show you quickly what that notebook is. With our get review sentiments notebook, we basically ran Python code, and this is the Python code in which, in general, it actually gets the product reviews. So the final output of that is a table, 2 tables rather, in which we had a product opinions table that contains all the different product opinions. So you have your adventure seekers link, it's a positive, and this is the opinion, it's perfect. The compartments are plenty, but there's negative reviews as well. People were disappointed with or uncomfortable with the strap and so on and so forth. Then you also have our actual product reviews here. So in general, so the product opinion is pretty much more focused on what do you call this? Was focused on the product opinions are focused on the different components of the bag. But for the product review, we're actually getting the overall sentiment. So there's a difference to that. Now, we want to be able to create first a data agent. Before we create the Azure AI Foundry agent, we need to create the data agent. So how do you do that? So here in the workspaces, so let's go to our workspace. We'll create on a new item. And from here, we will choose data agent. Okay, we'll click on data agent here. And we'll call this sample data agent. And then afterwards, what you're going to be doing is you need to add data sources here. So in this case, in my scenario, I will add my lake house. So this is, hold on a sec. I have a lot of lake houses now. I'm trying to figure out now which one I'm referring to. So yeah, I need to connect to a lake house. Hold on, lake house explorer. Okay, I need to connect to my product reviews workspace, and I need to connect to this lake house here. Okay, I'll need to add it. And then from here, I want to choose only a specific set of tables. In this case, I want to, well, since I have a very simple setup, I will connect all of these three. So my product opinions, my product review, and my products. Why is this products? What this is contained? Well, the products contains our metadata. So if you go to our lakehouse, if you go to the products, this is our metadata. And you have the product ID here. So this product ID is like the primary key that connects all of the other tables together, in which case you have the product ID here as well. So going back to our sample data agent, you can start asking questions here, but you'll see later that there's going to be some issues, and I'll show you why. So what I'm going to do, I have my set of questions here for the interest of time. Let me just bring it up. So let's say we ask here, what do people say about the zipper in the Adventure Pro hiking backpack? And this is going to be a hit or miss. So that's why we need to fix the data agent first. So analyzing the tables, and then from here, it appears there's no data available. Okay. We know that there is, but it's not providing. And in order to correct that, we need to train the agent first on what to do. So here you have your example queries. Okay, so example queries, we need to set example queries for the agent. Okay, I want to add an example. So before that, before I add a query, I want to show you how querying is done in the lakehouse. So here in the lakehouse, I'm going back to my lakehouse here. You have here this SQL analytics endpoint. So this allows you to run SQL statements with the lakehouse. And the reason why we need to do this is because what the agent does is every time you have an interaction, a conversation, the agent needs to create a SQL statement in order to refer to the tables. So let's show you an example, and I'll show you an SQL statement. So I'll show you an SQL statement here, and so we select the product and the opinion from the products, and we need to do a join here. So I'll not go into the actual details. And wait a minute, why is this? There's a target here. Why is this? Let's run this query. Wait a sec. Actually, I ran this through ChatGPT. Wait, hold on a sec. Go to the tables. Okay. Product underscore opinions. Invalid column target. Hold on. I'm looking at the product opinions, and there's a target here. How come it's not running? Incorrect token. Hold on. Let's just do a simple query first. So let's do a select first. So let's do a select statement first. So if you do a select statement, could not be found. Wait a minute. Okay, okay, okay. I get it now. So, wait a minute. Okay. So anyway, I cut and paste. So what happens here is that, so in general, what's going to happen is every time you're conversing, taking a conversation with the agent, based on your conversation, it's going to be creating SQL statements. And then from there, get the necessary information that you need. Okay. So what I did was, if I go to my, so I already created the data agent here. So let's go to the data agent which I created. My product reviews agent. You need to provide it a set of sample queries. Okay. So what do people say about the zipper in the Adventure Pro backpack? You're going to be providing a set of examples. In this case, this is the SQL statement. So you need to, what I did was I used ChatGPT here, and then I ran them manually through the lakehouse in order to verify these SQL statements. In other words, these SQL statements need to actually run to ensure that it's working. So you provided sample queries, sample SQL, so sample questions and sample, queries for it to understand what we're actually talking about. So let's say we ask about, a zipper is going to go to this SQL statement. And what does this do? Basically, it goes through my products, that's the metadata, and my product opinions, which contains all my opinions. And then from there, we're doing a replace, a lower. We want to put this in lowercase because because our database has it in in a capital and lowercase form. So we want to put everything in lowercase so they're able to find it as an example. And then from there, even the target, make it in lowercase. And then from there, retrieve, in this case, the zipper opinion. And then from here, how many positive views are there for the Adventure Pro hiking backpack? We're instead of using the product opinion, we're going to be using the product review table this time. And we're going to be doing a SQL statement to, parse through the data and to get the necessary information. So that's what's important. You need to provide it sample SQL queries so that now we can ask the question. So let's create a new chat conversation. Let's clear the chat. So in our sample, we're talking about, we gave it the Adventure Pro hiking backpack. This time we're going to be asking another product. So what do people say about the strap or the Adventure Seeker Sling? And then from here, you're going to be able to see, people have mentioned that the strap of the Adventure Seeker Sling is uncomfortable. And let's ask another question. How about the hidden back pocket? And then from there, based on our sample query, it's now able to answer. So this example queries are very important. If you're not able to populate it, if we actually remove it, then you're going to be having a problem. In which case, I showed you earlier, it's not going to be able to answer questions. In other words, these sample queries teaches the LLM on the structure of the table and so on and so forth. And even have here AI instructions, actually even not generated, but these AI instructions would guide the agent further on what to do. And even have here data source instructions, because it can be the case that you're going to be connecting to a lake house, to two lake houses, for example, or another, what do you call this, a KQL database, or and so on and so forth. In which case, I didn't need to provide it here because I'm only connected to just one lake house. But if you're going to be connecting with multiple lake houses, you need to probably put different data source instructions for each one to actually tell the agent on what these data sources are. So now that we have it, the next thing you need to do is to publish it. You need to publish your agent, and you need to, there's a name to it, and more importantly, you need to provide it a description, in which case it answers questions on product reviews. And you'll click on publish, in which case I will not do it anymore because I already published it. But this is very important. You need to publish it. And once that is published, if you click on this cog icon here and look at publishing, you're going to be able to get your API. You're going to be getting your, what do you call this? The workspace ID and the artifact ID. The first one is the workspace ID, so this one here. And the second one is the artifact ID. So why are these two important? When you go to the connected resources, you see here, you're going to need to you're going to connect your AI Foundry agent with Fabric. You'll click on New Connection. You'll search for Fabric, and then from here you have your workspace ID and artifact ID, and that's the information that I was referring to earlier. So this is the workspace ID, and this is the artifact ID. You'll connect them together, and you'll give it a connection name, in which case I already created one. I have here my Fabric tool, which has, the information that I provided earlier. Okay. Now I also have AI search. So what is this? So in my AI search, what I did was I have here a set of product files about my products. So let's say this is the Adventure Seeker Sling. This is my information that I have about the product. It's in Word document form. So what I did was I uploaded them in Azure AI Search. So this is my Azure AI Search. Sorry. This is my Azure AI Search index, in which is now indexed here. So this is the information that I have in Azure AI Search. It's now indexed in this format. Okay. So what I will do is, in the connected resources, I will create a new connection, select Azure AI Search, and then from here, add a connection to my Azure AI Search, which contains my travel products information. So I'll click on Add Connect, and then I'll close, in which case I already have it. And then finally, I have my TripAdvisor. So what is TripAdvisor? What I did was I created a free developer account. So you can create a free developer account in TripAdvisor. And what will happen is you're going to be given an API key. All you need to do is to copy this into my clipboard. And then from here, click New Connection. Click Custom Keys. And add your key value pair. I'll put here the key. And I will paste here my API key of TripAdvisor. And then I'll put in a name here called TripAdvisor. And then I'll add connection, in which case I already have one here. So this one here, this third one, is my TripAdvisor connection that connects to my API key. Obviously, I will not show it, but this key here is the same as the key over here. So now that I have everything set, I have my three resources already set up: my AI search, my Fabric tool, and TripAdvisor. Now let's head over to the project and let's create our agent. So we have this sample agent that we created, okay, which practically does nothing right now. Well, if you go to the playground, it actually does something, but it does not have any what do you call this? Any tool whatsoever. So there's no connection to any knowledge source or any action source. So right now we're just relying on its internal data set. And let's say we ask the question, what can I do in New York? So let's say I want to travel to New York. And then from here, it's going to be providing you, sample information from its internal dataset. Now, what we want to do is we want to connect it to our Fabric data source. So I'll click on Add here, and I'll choose Fabric. I'll choose my Fabric tool, and I'll click Connect. So remember, this Fabric tool, we need to provide the workspace ID and the artifact ID. And now let's ask a sample question. What do people, so we need to put first here a set of instructions. If you are, let me just cut and paste it here. If you are asked questions about product reviews, you will use the Fabric tool. Okay. Now let's test it out. What do people say about the Adventure Sling bag? And fingers crossed, let's hope that the agent is now using Microsoft Fabric. It will go through, and since our Fabric data agent has the example queries, it's now going to look at what queries it's going to be using, and then from there it's going to provide an answer. All right. So now it's providing answers with actual what do you call this? References to Microsoft Fabric. And now what we're going to do is let's add more information with this. So here, click on Add Knowledge, and this time AI Search, in which case I will add my travel products index, which I showed you earlier. So this is our travel products index. Let's now add it here. I'll specify my search type, and then retrieve 5 documents. I'll click on Connect. Okay, and then from here we can ask, tell me the features of this bag. Oh wait, we didn't put the set of instructions here. So it's now looking at Fabric still. We need to correct that. So let's finish first. So it's still going to refer to the product review. So we need to correct that. So we need to put here in the set of instructions, if you are asked questions about product information, you will use the Azure AI search tool this time. So let's ask the question again. Tell me more features about this Adventure Seeker sling bag. So even if it's incorrect spelling, it's fine. Wait, we need to. It's referring to old information. So let's add another question, another product. How about the features of the Adventure Pro hiking bag? No, it's still using Fabric. Hold on a sec. Azure AI search tool. Okay, let's create a new. Okay, let's stop this. So we need to correct this. So we need to stop generating and let's create a new thread. We need to correct the behavior. So we need to create a new thread in order to reflect the set of new instructions. Sec. Go back to our agent. Okay, so we have our instructions here. We have our Azure AI search here. Okay. What are the features of the Adventure Seeker sling bag? And hopefully, now it's going to refer at Azure AI search, and then from there, it's going to get the information about the Seeker sling bag with Azure AI search. And then from here, before I forget, let me add first the instruction. Let's add first the instruction here, okay, on TripAdvisor. And in this case, we need to add now the TripAdvisor information, the TripAdvisor connection. I'll put here TripAdvisor. And description provides restaurant recommendations and reviews. Okay. Click on next. choose a connection, in which case I will choose my TripAdvisor connection. And this, by the way, is the Open API specification of TripAdvisor. So as long as you have the Open API specification of any external application, you're good to go. Let's add it here as a data source. And now let's ask, provide me Italian restaurants in New York. So it's now looking at TripAdvisor. So notice that we're not doing any if and else statements here. Based on our instructions, the agent will now decide on what tool to use, whether it be or it will use AI search, or you're going to be using Fabric or a TripAdvisor review. And now from here, we can ask here, okay, so this Patsy's Italian restaurant. Give me reviews on this restaurant. And I want you to provide links for me to read it. Okay, and then from here, you can click on the actual review. Open this link, open it in a new tab. And now it's referring to, reviews in TripAdvisor on this Patsy's Italian restaurant. Okay, so that basically sums up the demonstration. So we showed you how we can create a sample agent. We connected it to Microsoft Fabric, in which case, as a prerequisite, you need to create a data agent first in Microsoft Fabric. You need to provide it sample SQL queries. If it's going to be a KQL database, then you need to provide it sample KQL queries. So depending on what data source in Fabric, you need to provide those samples. So that's what I learned. That's important. You need to, provide examples to guide it on what to do. And then from there, we even add, more information. So we had our travel products in Azure AI Search. And then if you want to get, information about restaurants and hotels, then you can connect it with TripAdvisor. So key takeaways, the agent can perform more complex tasks this time. It can connect to many tools, and we showed you 3 of them right now. But if you want to see a whole bunch of other information, and we have this course, Building Agents Using the Azure AI Foundry Agent Service. It came out only last week. So it's just been a week since it came out. And let me show you what that course actually looks like. So from here, if I click on this link, there's this QR code. I'll share again the QR code. So what it basically does is it goes through, the environment setup, creating your first agent, overview of the different tools. And then from here, we have a deep dive on all of the different tools. Each of these chapters will show you Python code. So for example, for Azure AI Search, if I, focus here a bit, there's a demonstration on the portal first, and then there's also demonstration on the code. So all of these codes are going to be available to you through GitHub code spaces. So there's a code space, there's a repository that has all of this. So Bing, file search, AI search, SharePoint, function calling, code interpreter, Open API, Azure functions. So this is pretty unique because we're connecting to Azure functions and logic apps here. And then from here at the very end, you even have a guided, what do you call this? Guided project wherein you'll create up your own agent. We are also discussing here how to connect multi-agents, how we can actually trace them, how we can do content filtering, and how we can even deploy it with Chainlit and eventually with Azure App Service. So this is a pretty comprehensive course to learn more about the Azure AI Foundry Agent Service. So in the session, we only discussed about, AI service, AI search, TripAdvisor, and Fabric. But if you want to know more, then you can click on this, scan this QR code, and then from there, learn more about Azure AI Foundry Agents.